All right, everybody, we're on with Zakiya Holman. She's an author and inspiring speaker, and the name of the book is called Streamline. I've known her for a couple of months now, and she is the real deal. She is authentic. She's sincere, really truthful, and the way she is telling the story about her life. I want us to get into family and then talk about your mother. We're on Black Women Empowered. Um, and Jackie is the founder, and she really loves the fact that we get women telling their stories. You know, this is the year of the woman. Of course, I know everybody's excited about our dear sister running for president,
Yes.
and we're excited to acknowledge the progress of Black women all over this country. But I'm glad to have you on. So tell us about Zakiya Holman. Who is Zakiya Holman?
Well, Zakiya Holman, in terms of like geographical location, I grew up in Inglewood, California, and I'm now in Paris, California. But I grew up in a spiritual home. My mother, who is now transcending and gone on to glory, just raised me to be a woman. Actually, my name Zakiya means intelligent, and Kabibi, my middle name, means little lady. So intelligent little lady. My mom raised me to be an intelligent little lady, a woman of wisdom, and a woman who loves God. And so I'm here to just continue her legacy of love for God. And Streamline really talks a lot about that. It tells my story from my upbringing, some challenges I've been through as a child, and then just throughout my life. And I think the stories are compelling because a lot of women have faced trials and tribulations, and they're still standing. So I'm here to echo the resilience of women everywhere.
So, Streamline is a book about resilience. Tell us what you had to overcome. What was it that inspired you to write this book?
Yeah, so Streamline in the context of my book is really about intentional living. So it's about choosing to navigate life's undulating terrain in a more impactful, efficient, and also just a more effective way, by employing the spiritual practices of simplicity. So in my life, I had to overcome the earliest part of my life. I want to say probably around the age of 8 or 9, I had to come an adverse childhood experience of molestation. And really, that was around the time where God gave me the ability to take my pain and put it on paper. And so through the pain of going through um, that trial, I was able to learn how to find my voice and express myself through writing. So that's one of the earliest things that transpired. But then just throughout life, learning how to navigate the school system, growing up in the inner city, and the violence that was seen in that context, and just life, BJ.
Right.
And so what I found was that just being able to express myself through writing was the best way that I could connect with people because the trust had been severed because of that experience. But I still wanted to authentically connect with people, and writing was kind of that safe haven for me.
So let's talk about, if you don't mind, talking about molestation, right? Because
Yes,
so many Black women who suffer in silence, they don't know how to express and come out of it.
yes,
And it shapes people's personalities. It takes away the innocence of a woman.
yes.
Um, what could you say to somebody that is struggling with that right now? They still haven't openly discussed it. They've kept it inside. They're 40, 50 years old, maybe even 60, and never dealt
Yes.
with that issue. What would you say?
Yeah, I would just say first and foremost, my heart goes out to you. There's a community awaiting you that wants to extend our love and support, and to know that you are not alone. Like this shame that comes with that
Mm.
is something that we have to try to surpass so that we can be in community with one another. Because one thing with like trauma is it kind of severs that ability to connect with others, right? You start to feel shameful and you just have a host of emotions. So I would want my sisters to know that there's a community ready and willing to embrace you. And oftentimes our healing does come from being vulnerable enough to share our stories. And so that's why I'm here really, BJ, to say, hey, look, if I can take audacious actions and share my story. And it's not easy because even at 45, it really evokes some emotions in me still. Then I want you to know that you can through God and through harnessing your spirit, you can also share your story. And in fact, somebody is waiting for you to do just that.
Let's go into vulnerability. That's a word that you really have embraced.
Yes.
Vulnerability.
Mhm.
What does that look like, and how has it helped you?
Yeah, it looks like doing the uncomfortable things, sitting here speaking right now about weighted issues is not the easiest thing for me to do. It doesn't come naturally. However, when your purpose is greater than your own ego, then you can step into this space of vulnerability knowing that it's going to your story is going to serve as a platform for other people. So it really is about surpassing your ego, surpassing your uncomfortability, because there's healing that's on its
Mm.
way.
Yeah,
There's healing on its way. As soon as you just step out on the ledge a little bit, make that connection with somebody, you don't know how that person can be instrumental in your own healing. And God has this awesome plan, way bigger than what we can sit down and put on, write down.
yeah,
We write down our goals, we try to make them plain. But
right.
there's something bigger about being in community with others that creates a safety.
Hmm.
But it's almost counterintuitive because you want to protect yourself
Yeah,
still.
yeah.
And the very thing that you need to do is step outside of yourself and get into community with others.
What about forgiveness? I've been having a deeper understanding about forgiveness, because if God forgives us for all of the injustice that we do in his face, all the evil that we have done, and we ask him to throw our sins in the sea of forgetfulness, how do we return that type of love, God's love, in terms of forgiving people who have done evil to us?
Yeah. I think what you really have to do is just make a conscious choice, and it's easier said than done, but a conscious choice to free yourself. There is such a heavy weight that comes with unforgiveness. You almost get stagnated and stuck in a moment. But when you choose to say, like, I choose to let this go, and I know that this complexity or whatever I'm going through right now is strengthening me. These are growing pains to strengthen me. When you start to reframe the way you look at complexities, then you could almost see even for myself, right? Even traumas, I can see the learning lessons in that, how that has strengthened me to become who I am today. And there is a measure of forgiveness that you have to learn along the way to be able to do that. And I cannot say you can do this in your own human free will. I do believe that you need the support of a higher power. For me, that has been Jesus, but if we're talking about to people all around the world, they may have another name for that. But whatever spirit is, right, you need to embrace that in order to step into the realm of forgiveness, because it's not a human thing. This is a spiritual thing.
Beautiful, beautiful. Some of the things you cover in the book Streamline, you've thought deeply about? What are some of the things that we have been mentioning that people can dive into book? Are there any particular chapters that kind of stand out to you that you think people should really pay attention to?
Yeah, one of the chapters is about grasping your own mass, understanding your greatness and your divine identity. The whole book, the premise is really about living in integrity with your values, your identity, and your purpose. I do believe that life becomes more complex when we stray away from that, when we fail to live from our values, our identity, and our purpose. But when we do, I believe that our lives are simplified and we go farther into fulfillment. So, streamline is about enrichment. Like all of life's lessons, even life's complexities, they serve a purpose, really. And it is really to bring about greater depth, breadth, and beauty. And so trauma broadens you, it deepens
Mm,
you, you know. And when you get on the other side of it, you can see the beauty of it all in terms of how God is using it to connect you with other people who have similar experiences and can then heal
mm,
collectively together. And
yeah.
so that's what Streamline is about, from page 1 all the way to page 151 to the end of the book. About overcoming trials, about seeing the beauty in all things, and understanding that each thing is meant to strengthen you and to build community.
So in the book, you talk about the transitioning of your mother, and that could definitely help people who are still grieving. I still grieve over the loss of my mother and father and brother. It's a process that you never get over. How do you give yourself permission to deal with that in your own way? And how do you deal
Yes.
with it? Because it was, I know you talk about the vulnerability of how that transitioned into her leaving you.
Yes.
Kind of talk about that.
Yeah, so it's been a little over a year since my mom passed away. She had battled cancer for quite some time, 8 years. And I know this sounds really strange when I tell people, and they probably can't believe it, but I never heard my mother complain. I
Mm,
never heard her complain.
wow.
And so, even going through what I believe to be some of the most painful sort of treatments themselves, chemo and radiation, that you can go through on a physical level, she was always about transcendence, transcending it. And so, even in my moments of grief, I can hear her voice saying, like, this is serving a purpose. You can transcend it. Now, the thing about it, though, is grief is not a linear process, because there are some days when I feel quite okay. And then there are some days where it just hits me and I
Mm,
spiral back into this cycle of grief. So it almost feels more cyclical than it does feel linear, you
mm,
know? And so um, I just treat myself like, what would I say to a friend if they were going through a moment of grief? I would give them the greatest gift, which is compassion. So I try to give myself self compassion on the days that are tremendously hard for me.
yeah.
And then another piece of that is my mother and my father, who live here with me. Have been married for 50 years. And so my dad is grieving tremendously and in the state of depression. And to see the face of grief every day while you are experiencing it yourself is quite trying. And so I would just say, give yourself space to feel the fullness of your emotions, because that is healthy. When we suppress it, when we
Mm,
try to distract it through working, because I can be quite a workaholic. So using these distractive methods of, immersing myself in work only as though that is going to somehow keep me from experiencing grief.
yeah.
Um, it could be unhealthy, right? And so just giving yourself the grace to feel the fullness of your emotions, and to reach out to others. Sometimes people don't know what to say, but just knowing that you have people who are there for you, I find that to be comforting. And just to remember my mother's legacy, because
Yeah.
she was a woman of faith. I mean, so each day, I have spiritual practice where I read a scripture or meditate on something, just to ground me.
Yeah.
in the truth of now, and knowing that just because I don't see her physically doesn't mean she's not here.
Mm.
I think that's the biggest myth.
Right. She all in you. She coming out of you right now.
Yes.
I was going to ask you
Yeah.
that you kind of touched on it just briefly just now. Personal reflection time, personal development time. How much time do you spend by yourself in silence? What's your ritual? What's your morning routine? And how do you kind of get yourself, primed for the day?
Yeah, so there's this meditation, and sometimes I'll do different ones, but one has really spoken to me. And it's a meditation on YouTube, but it's about miracles, And so usually I'll start my morning listening to that, and it's pretty lengthy. It's about 30 minutes or so, but I like to start my mornings with listening to that because it just grounds me and it allows me to be thankful for what is, right? And to know that my thought processes and all of that, even though I'm trying to walk this path, um, I still don't know it all. Like there's something so much greater than me. So I'm thankful for grace, right? I'm thankful that despite of my limited understanding, I'm being kept. And so I start the morning in gratitude, really. And then from that, I'll usually exercise, but like a walking meditation, again, to go into this place of like solitude, in this place of thank God that my legs ambulate and my arms and my fingers, I have dexterity and my eyes can see, like the physical things, right?
Yeah.
Thanking God for that, because sometimes the physical is an entry point into the spirit. So I start with what I can see, and
Mhm.
then that becomes something spiritual while I'm doing my walking meditation. And usually after that, it's time to start work, but my day has already been primed with such gratitude for the grace that God has given me, then I'm ready to start my day. And that's
Wow.
generally how it goes. And I end in a similar way.
Yes. So your book, how long did it take you to write Streamline?
It took 2 years and 2 weeks to write it, because in that period of time, my mom passed away. I had faced some other trials and tribulations. And so it took longer than I would like, but something tells me it came right on time, that the time was divine. And it is something that I wanted to do since I was a child. I wanted to write a book, and I would start and stop manuscripts all the way from childhood now. This is the first one that I knew I had to complete. Like
Wow.
nothing was going to stop me. I knew I had to complete. And I'm hoping now to use it, to then do some speaking engagements, and things of that nature, where I can connect with people around the principles of the book, and then where I can hear people share their stories, because I would love to write another book.
What are they saying? What are some of the people that have read the book saying to you? Feedback.
Yeah, I've like sent the book itself to some family members, professors of different colleges and different things of that nature, and some friends have read the book, and I'm getting a lot of positive feedback on the book, just about the phraseology, how the writing is put together, and that it is something that is relatable, and that
Mhm.
means a lot to me, because you can get in your mind and start to think, I don't know if people are going to accept this or how they're going to think about it or what have you. But I've got nothing but positive feedback. Someone told me it's written as though it was sprinkled with angelic dust. I mean, I'm getting like these really profound statements
Yeah.
that my intention was connect to others. That was my sole intention, to connect with others, and to surpass my own sort of doubts and fears in order to do that. So I'm getting a lot of good feedback. People say I'm a pretty positive person, and so they weren't aware of some of the things that I've gone through. But I think positivity is a choice, and so I choose to be positive despite some of the things that have transpired and are transpiring today, because our stories are always unfolding. So as I sit with you right now, I'm going through some personal and relational issues that I'm having to sort out,
Yeah.
and I know that too serves a purpose,
Right.
so
I like us to
yeah.
do a series, having you on Black Women Empowered, because I think you could be very, very inspiring. And as you are evolving, the audience can evolve with you. You're so relatable that, I think people will really love hearing a person who's vulnerable, because I like that word too. If you're not
Yeah,
vulnerable, you're not real to me. If
that's
you're not
right.
willing to let your self expression, people are afraid to be themselves, right?
Yes.
Because they're afraid of the judgment of other people.
Yes.
We have to get over that in order for us to be ourselves. Don't worry about who's looking at you, or what people say about you. That has nothing to do with you. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So care more about what God thinks about you, and then you start to have some self respect. And we need others in front of us who are in the same, we walk in the same road. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You don't
Yes.
have you don't have an ego. I mean, that doesn't even come across. That I believe you're just a pure vessel that wants to sincerely help people understand things. Am I
I
right?
yes, I so appreciate you saying that. I mean, that is that is what I want to be. And I say, when you say I have no ego,
But
going
you see,
through
only other people can say that. You can't say that, but other
yeah,
people can
other
say,
people may see
person,
and say
yeah, you
that.
don't, yeah,
Yes. So that is a great compliment that you just given me. And what I know for myself is that I still need to work
mhm,
towards being that pure vessel that you speak of. Like, that's a process, and that's what I aim to be. However, I know that there are things that I need to work on in terms of not being judgmental, or um, being acceptant of people just as they are, understanding that we can learn something from everybody,
right,
BJ. And so the fact that you said that to me, it means a lot to me, because it is exactly what I aspire to be, and there's still work to be done,
right. Because we are the people of God, despite the condition or the way you see us act or what we're doing. I don't care if it's the craziest brother or sister on the street. They from the creator of the heavens and the earth. And
Yes.
talk and deal with our people. You talk to the God that's in them to pull it out.
Yes.
Deal with them according to the circumstance, deal with them according to the nature, and their nature is the God who created them from nothing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think if we keep that at the forefront of our minds, that we are divine beings first, we're
Yeah,
spiritual beings first, having a human experience,
yeah,
I think that helps to shape the way you go through life. It's easy to say I'm spiritual if you're living in a silo. Like, if you keep yourself almost away from others, you can feel very spiritual. But when you recognize how spiritual you are when you are in relationship with other people, right? And so when people disappoint you, what is your response to that? When people may lie, or cheat, or do all of these things that so many people have been through, what's your response to that? And I'm saying, if you're able to start to live from a place of spirit in response to challenges, now
right,
we're on to something. Now we're intentionally living. And that's where I'm trying to go. When things go great, it's easy to be spiritual. I'm working on when things aren't so kind, when you don't feel like being kind. How do you show up and lead from spirit, knowing that we're spiritual beings having a human experience and not the other way around?
right. So if we say we following Christ, Christ said, "If any man be my disciple," he ain't say any white man, he ain't say any black man, he ain't say any Chinese man. He said any man
Any man.
will be my
Yes.
disciple. You got to first deny yourself, pick up your cross and come follow me.
Follow
So
me.
that means,
Yes,
you know, as we are following him, that you can't act and be like everybody else.
that's right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I was talking about forgiveness the other day, and it hit me when I was riding in the car. I said, you know what? I hold grudges against some of the people who offended me in my radio career. I've been holding on to
Mm,
things since 2008.
wow.
And I had an epiphany. I said, I got to let this go, because if I want God to forgive me for the stuff that I've done, and I want Him to please let it go, God, don't punish me for the things I've done in the past. Please have mercy. We got to do the same thing. But how many people take that in consideration? That the same love that we are asking from God, we have to give that to others.
Yes, we have to demonstrate that. And that's not an easy task. Sometimes we wish things were easier. And I
Yeah,
think that's the other thing, simplicity and easy, two different things. It's not easy to forgive, but by forgiving, I think you will find that life becomes simplified. By
yeah,
doing the things that are hard to do, I think it opens up to us and we can see with greater clarity the beauty and the depth and the breadth that God has intended for us all to experience. So forgiveness, it's almost a selfish act because you forgive for yourself to set yourself free and to open you up to greater experiences. With that weight pulling you down, it is so hard to see life for what it truly is. And so making the choice to let it go and understand that it is going to serve you in the long run,
yeah.
it is a choice and it's difficult, but we can do
Well, let's make the choice to get this book streamlined, y'all. Zakiya Holman.
it.
And y'all need to go to the website. Tell them all the places they can purchase this book.
Sure. So if you go to zakiyaholman.com, you can purchase the book right from the website. There's also a link where you'll be sent to Amazon to purchase the book as well. And it's in a few formats. So if you are one who likes to read an ebook, you can get it that way, or in hardcover or paperback as well. And I just know sincerely that the book will bless you, that you will find something in it that speaks to you, that resonates with you. So I'm thanking you in advance for your support.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. So ZakiyaHolman.com, and Zakiya wants to go around the country speaking as well with her
Yes.
ministry. And we want you to definitely contact her at the website. And you had a phone number here, if you don't mind me giving it out. I like you got a phone number. It's
Sure.
951-472-2214. That's 951-472-2214. Streamline it now at yahoo.com is the email address. And you can get all that information on the website. I just want to give it out
Thank you
again.
so much, BJ.
So thank you for this beginning of a series of talks we're going to have. I want to really dig into your mind. I believe that you will help a lot of sisters out here try to figure out their lane on where they should be going, because we all need mentors. You can learn from everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, absolutely. I
But
believe that, yeah. And I'd be so willing to connect with people. Not just to be so many people have poured into my life and mentored me, BJ. So I must do the same, and I'm willing to do so.
all right, Zakiya Holman, thank you so much. Black Women
Thank
Empowered, Miss
you.
Jackie King, give her a shout out. This is my sister. She's got a powerful network of helping Black women all over this world. And I'm just proud to be a part of it. So thank you again, ZakiyaHolman.com. Y'all check out the book Streamline.
Thank you, BJ.